that isn't done with an idea of helping steer you to a conclusion. We can divide those up some more. But that was a good start, in our opinion, because the densities were recognized. And you'll see the historical trends district-wide. Back in 02-03, total number of kids in the district were 20,669. And this past year was 22,454. And then we can just go to the next one, where we're projecting the historical resident students, and you'll see how they're through 2011, it will be 23,138 district-wide as K-12, of course. And so you have continuing steady upward growth. It looks like we'll continue looking at the births that are coming in the district. And you'll see how we break this down by grade of each school. Those are some of the numbers that you're seeing. So we're just showing you some examples of that. That's a resident student zone for 2011. Okay. And we just passed through these. Current historical resident students, current resident students, projected resident students, and the capacities of the schools. This is work in progress, okay? This is our first pass at it. By that I mean we're refining our calculations of the capacities of the schools. So let's don't look at that school and say 488. We'll have a refined number next time because we have to take into account the enrollment capacities of special education and so forth. So there's just a little fine tuning. But this is just to show you where we are, okay? Let's go on. And then, again, this is draft stuff now. This is not finished product. This is the historical students, the current residents, the projected residents, and the capacity of the school. The capacity of the school is the black bordered one, and the projected enrollment is the yellow one.
That's with the current now.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. We don't have set of boundaries we will spring them.
Just one.
Go ahead. Let's just, we've done this through all the district, so let me just finish that out. Okay. Now, why didn't I want to study that and talk to you about the numbers? Because we are refining. That's not because we didn't like what we saw and we want to dig up some new ones. It's that it's a lot more complicated than people think. We've got to look at what each kind of special education program is containing, what the enrollment standards of the state are, and if we follow that through all the way. And I really haven't back-checked it all. And one of my roles here is the neutral observer, and I want to be sure your data's good. Okay, that'll take us to our next meeting. So it's not that I'm hoarding anything. It's just that I don't want to have to come back to you and say I changed this with my 5 kids. I don't know why we do that. So when we're done in the next week or so, we'll have that for the committee. This is work in progress, and what you've got to understand, and my statement again, I can't overemphasize it, is that there is a relationship between that data and where you'll end up. And it is not an obvious relationship, because we've got to decide where should boundaries be based on the growth dynamics and capacity of the buildings, and what alternative futures might be. I mean, typical alternative futures are a gamut of things. I'm not going to say these apply here, but normally it's open season. Like you may say, I'll have special ed centers here instead of there, or I'll add a new pre-K program or not, or I want to have a different grade structure, some people do. Again, that's not talking about you, but there's just different options to look at. So when we're doing that, it's wrong at this early stage, whatever you do, to add up classrooms. Because in a typical district, I'll have to tell you, you will never achieve 100% efficiency in using classrooms. Why? Because this area was going up for a while and now it's going down. And another one's going up. Because neighborhoods do that. You know why. I mean, somebody moves in, has kids, the kids grow up, leave the house, and they get old and they don't need all those bedrooms and they go somewhere else. And that typical cycle runs for 20, 25 years. But in the schools and districts a lot older than that. You've got schools older than that, twice as old as that. So those dynamics are going on in these neighborhoods, I can promise you. You're going up and down by over 100 kids in neighborhoods that we've outlined here. So anyone who wanted to add up 450 capacity, 360 capacity, and say that's the capacity of the district, you know, you're going to live with that. Well, that capacity might be over here, and the kids are growing over here. That happens everywhere. So, but we've got to understand it, that it does happen, and don't be swayed by saying, I've added this all up, and we don't need to do anything. You know, it never works that way. So it's just some overview. And again, where we are right now is we've got this demographic information. I'm going to be checking this data on the surveys, and I have the enrollment projections. We're going to play that off against what's showing up this year and some other things. And then the next time you meet, it'll be ready to cut and paste. Okay? Now, let me explain something about what I would propose for that. Because one of the major disasters of my life was when I thought that I should go to a rezoning hearing with nothing except a blank map. And so the superintendent stood up in front with a blank map and he said, what do y'all think about this? And everybody in the group thought that there was an agenda. There must be a map back here, and he's just getting around to it. And afterwards he said, don't ever do that again. You can't. You've got to give people a point of departure. Now, how do we do that? It isn't by coming up with our secret plan and springing on you and coercing you into accepting something. But you've got to have something to start with. That's just what we found to do. And so what I'm suggesting is along the lines of when we start our cut and paste session, first of all, the next time, Mr. Sweat is going to spend a great deal of time with you going through the data. He's going to take it by neighborhood at each school, show you the growth and decline, show you the parameters, show you the capacity of the school versus the projected enrollments, give you those things to work with, and start the familiarity with the situation so you can see what's growing and what's declining and the dynamic. You've got to understand that before you can start joining on the planning team. Then the next meeting we'll have is where we'd like to divide the group into 3 groups of 10, each with a technical support. The three who presented to you tonight would each have technical support to answer your questions about data and so forth, with a scenario of how things could look. Just, you know, things could look like. And some alternatives, maybe one alternative, if this was found to be an assumption, what would happen, just to set the pace for you. So the 3 groups looking at the same things gives you time to look at it and say, don't like that. And then bring the group back together to talk about what they saw. Issues, solutions. Was this approach something that was almost there or totally wrong? You know? And then we'll take that and work on it and come back to the next meeting with a refinement based on what you present. Then the groups can go at it again. And you say things like, aha, you change this and I'll remember this on any point. We won't try to do that. But with what I'm here to assure you about is that this is going to be a data-driven project, and you must believe that. I have no idea what your zone should look like when this is over. I have none. I don't know who knows whom, and I'll make a point of not knowing. Okay. But it's going to be neutral, and it's independent, and you truly are involved in it. So that's where we are right now. It's a brief meeting right now to show you that we haven't been just sitting on our hands. You know, we've been working. They've spent hundreds of hours on that survey of the schools. That was intense. And you'd be surprised how few school districts ever do